Hey all, so in this tutorial what I'd like to do is cover the main types of variables that we as scripters will use when we're putting together our little programs and our Ruby scripts. So one of the things to make sure we understand is the category and the scope of a variable. I'll attempt to use my little pad here as best I can. The category and the scope. Now, it's important to understand the scope of the variable all the time, because when we're using them, if we get the scope wrong, then we really are going to encounter problems with our programs. So let's have a look at category and scope. So we've got some key choices of variables, and they are most of which you will have heard of, I guess. The first one is a local variable. We've got a global variable. Let me see if I can write these out. There's instance variables, and some of the names of these may give away what they're actually about. And then we've got class variables. In the blog posts I mention constants as well, but we'll come on to those kind of shortly. Now, local variables, well, in fact, hang on, all of these, if I can draw this, cool, that was a terrible attempt, hang on. All of these use a thing called a sigil, and this is a little symbol at the start to show us what kind of variable it is, or what category of variable it is. And if I just pick some random colour here, interestingly, now I've just said that, local variables don't have any sigil at all, but global variables use the $sign. Instance variables have a single arroba or an @ sign, and class variables have a double arroba on them. So we can define what kind of, should we just get rid of that to show that there is no sigil used, but these sigils are used so that we know what kind of variable we're working with. And let's pick another colour. So you might have, you can see I'm struggling to use this, you might have a $sign preceding the variable's name or the reference, so my variable, so this would be what, a global variable, because it's got the sigil. You could have an instance variable, so again it would be preceded by an ampersand. And remember that instance variables are any instance of an object. I'm right on the edge of the pad here, so I'm struggling. And often we'll use instance variables with classes. So then if we were putting, with class, yes, in classes, but we would have them combined, with class variables as I'm showing here. So it would be double arroba, and it would be my class variable. And the key here is that what we're doing when we define a variable to be of a certain category, we're also setting the scope. And scope, as you may guess, and I'll come on to some specific examples, but I just wanted to play these through initially. Local variables are local to the area of code in which they've been defined. So if you imagine we've got a code block, or we've got a script, let's say, here's my script, and in that script I've got the main area of the script, which is something that we refer to in Ruby, main. But then we could have, so we'll have some code lines, then we might have a block of code, maybe it's a definition of a method, there could be an if statement, maybe this is a nested block of code, etc. And so the variable, when we define them, we need to be careful where we're defining them. So for example, if up here, let's just grab a different color. If up here we were to define a local variable, here it is, it's only available in this section of code. And when we go into a nested section of code, as this box here is representing, you wouldn't be able to use the local variable. You wouldn't be able to refer to it. If here's another block of code, if we put a local variable in here, again it would be available, and I hope you can work with this, these boxes, this idea. It would only be available within this piece of code, not in here and not in here, and so not in a method, not in a class that we might have buried in there, for example. However, if, let's pick another color, hopefully this comes up. If we had a global variable declared here, then that global variable would be available globally throughout the script. Well, no kidding. When we've got an object, and a common object we'll create is a class. So let's assume this here is a class we've created. What you'll have is class variables in here that are available every time you make a copy of this class. So every time you instantiate a copy of this class, and this class could be anything. It could be the name of a piece of equipment, plus all of its details. Usually you'll see, in the coding literature, cars, and the cars have attributes of, they have an engine of a certain size, a color, etc., a color of a certain value, and so on. So class variables would be related to the class, every instance of that class. However, if we see if I can find another color here, if in this class we then had one or two instance variables, they would be specific to that instance. So I could have, and I hope you can work with this, if this blue line represents a class variable, it would all be, car, body, manufacturer perhaps. But then this little green line here, which we're saying is an instance variable, it would be the particular color, the particular engine size. Again, the scope that we're talking about is limited. Global variables, as we're saying about on these, this gold line, a global variable is available everywhere. A local variable is available only within the piece of code, the context of that code. And instance variables, class variables live in here, but class live within a class. Class variables are common to all instances of the class, but the instance variable is specific. Okay, it's a very quick introduction, and I hope this little scribbly drawing worked for you. But what we'll do now is go in the rest of the videos and the blog posts and look at each of these individually with code examples. Okay, so be sure to head over to the website. Can I write this out? cyrith.co.uk, where I keep all of these examples, and of course Cyrith at Blogspot. Alrighty, so let's go and have a look at local, global, instance and class variables in depth with some code examples.